Welcome to Will It Build, the series where I take your builds from my YouTube comments and Discord server and put them to the test to see if they are the real deal. If it's solid, then I'll gift you 1,000 silver, and if it's really something special, you'll be featured in a dedicated build video for your submitted build. So comment yours below so we can answer the question, will it build? It is my honor to welcome you back to another episode of Will It Build. This is a very special one, given that it's the first Will It Build for Act 2 of episode Revenant. I want to do an emblem giveaway, so we're going to give away this emblem that we're showing on screen right now. All you have to do, literally just like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you already haven't. We're going to pick a winner in the next 7 days. But for now, we're going to get straight into this episode of Will It Build featuring the unnerfed prime version of young Ahamkara's spine. Previously, it was nerfed where ability hits no longer gave Trip Mine energy back. They changed it where you had to get ability kills, which basically saw this exotic fall out of rotation in any echelon of high-end content where you couldn't one-hit everything with your abilities. At the beginning of episode Revenant, they changed it back so that ability hits once again give you ability energy, and we're able to use this fan favorite build that everyone loves so much once again. Now, the reason I haven't done a Will It Build or a build video on this yet, even though it was unnerfed back in Act 1, ignitions were bugged and doing significantly less damage than they were supposed to for the entirety of Act 1. With the release of Act 2 today, that has been fixed, so we are now ready to re-experience the peak prime form of young Ahamkara's spine. And I'm so excited to see how this bad boy feels again, because I've missed it very, very dearly. We've got this build submitted from Gork and Zola, which is of course featuring the young Ahamkara's spine exotic gauntlets, where with Wish Dragon Teeth increases Trip Mine grenade duration and blast radius, ability damage grants Trip Mine grenade energy, specifically 33% grenade energy per ability hit. There's also a couple of nuances and interesting behaviors and interactions that we're going to talk about as we get into the build, some hidden technology within this exotic as well. For now, we have to get into the subclass where, of course, we're going with Gambler's Dodge, because we're going to want to be able to get our melee ability back at the snap of a finger whenever it is completely depleted, so that we have another ability to toss out to get 33% of our grenade ability energy back. As far as our melee goes, we're going with Knife Trick. Back in the day, Knife Trick was really, really solid with this build, because Knife Trick actually throws out 3 separate melee blades, and you got the 33% refund instance towards your Trip Mine grenade for every individual target that you hit with each one of those blades. So if you fanned out the blades properly and you hit 2 different targets with the Knife Trick, you would get 66% of your grenade back. If you managed to hit 3 different targets with one throw, where one knife hit its own target, you would get your entire grenade back, which is really, really cool. And then we have, of course, Trip Mine Grenade, self-explanatory. When you're using young Ahamkara's spine, you're of course using Trip Mine Grenade. Not really much to say about this one. For aspects, they're urging us towards Gunpowder Gamble, which if I recall correctly, I think this is actually a little bit different than the young Ahamkara's spine builds that I've used in the past. Now, I know Gunpowder Gamble has gotten some changes in between the time period where young Ahamkara's spine was nerfed and we kind of forgot about it for a while, and right now. So I'm curious to see how Gunpowder Gamble feels with young Ahamkara's spine now that it's gotten a couple tweaks. I know the self-damage has been toned down significantly. I'm kind of pumped to see how it feels with Gunpowder Gamble. We're also going with Knock 'em Down, which is going to be massive primarily for the second part of Knock 'em Down, where while Radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife, Knife Trick in our case, will fully refund our melee. And it's going to be very easy for us to be Radiant, because we'll be, of course, running the Ember of Torches as one of our fragments. Now, this is really cool. If we throw our knives at trash mobs and we get a final blow in doing so, not only is it going to refund 33% of our grenade energy through young Ahamkara's spine, but it's also going to fully refund the melee ability through Knock 'em Down, which means we can continuously do that and immediately fill up our grenade if it's ever empty. As far as our other fragments goes, they're setting up with Ember of Ashes, where we apply more Scorch Stacks to targets, specifically 50% additional Scorch Stacks, which makes perfect sense. More Scorch Stacks is going to lead to more ignitions, and more ignitions is going to lead to more procs of young Ahamkara's spine. Previously, even though it doesn't say it on the young Ahamkara's spine, it says ability damage grants Trip Mine grenade energy. Ignitions used to technically count as ability damage and would therefore give a 33% refund towards our trip mine grenade. Not sure if it still does that, but we're going to see if it does. Next, the other two fragment choices are a little bit more interesting to me, but you guys know how we do it on Will It Build. We always try out what they recommend unless it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. These don't necessarily make zero sense, they're just a little more interesting. They're setting us up with the Ember of Benevolence. We're applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies. Is going to grant us increased ability regeneration to all three of our abilities. The reason I'm a little skeptical on this is we only have one way to proc this, and that's with applying, giving Radiant to our allies through the Ember of Torches. And whilst we could theoretically do that very frequently through Knock 'em Down and Knife Trick self-refund, I'm not sure how necessary it's going to be, because we're really not going to need ability bonus regen for our grenade, because in theory, we're going to be getting all of our grenade energy back through Young Hamkar's Spine. We're not going to need it for our melee ability, because we're probably in most situations going to be refunding our melee on kill. So the only thing that we're really surging ability energy on is our class ability, which is why I'm a little skeptical on. I feel like at that rate, you'd probably just rather take Ember of Singeing, but we're going to see how we feel like it performs. Finally, we've got the Ember of Blistering. Where defeating targets with solar ignitions grants grenade energy. I actually want to take a look at this. If we look at Blistering, ignition kills grant grenade ability energy based on enemy rank, where a tier 1 combatant's going to give us 8%, tier 2 is going to give us 12.5, tier 3 is going to give us 16.5. And when this says tier 1, by the way, tier 2, this means minor combatants at tier 1, major combatants at tier 2, mini bosses or champions at tier 3, and boss tier enemies at tier 4. In most situations, we're only getting 8 to 12.5%. Feels a little small for giving it an entire fragment slot. I think there's some fragments I would rather run over Blistering, but we'll see how it feels. We'll see how it plays. Getting back to the build, we're going to take a look at our weaponry. They said that weaponry is a little bit up to you. They recommended Ariana's Vow for this, so we're just going to give it out. I don't really know exactly how this is going to synergize with the build specifically with Young Ahamkara's Spine. The only area that I can think of where it would work is breaking a matched shield or piercing a champion's barrier will cause the target to ignite. The one issue is I'm not 100% sure whether or not an ignition caused by a weapon will count as a proc for Young Ahamkara's Spine and thus give 33% refund towards the grenade. Up in the connect slot, they said we can basically do whatever we want. So we're going to go with an SMG. I really love Imminence. You can run absolutely whatever you want. And then they said the heavy weapon was going to be dealer's choice. Then looking at the mods, we're going to be going Ashes to Assets, which makes perfect sense because we're going to be getting a lot of grenade kills. I love the idea of getting super energy. We're then going with Special Ammo Finder and Scout, which I imagine is specifically speccing into the Ariana's Vow. Down on the class item I want to go to next, Reaper, Powerful Attraction, and Bomber. Very typical Hunter class item mod setup. No problems there. I really like what we got going on there. Boots, we've got Stacks on Stacks, where we get double stacks of armor charge anytime we get an instance of armor charge, along with Better Already and Recuperation, both healing mods. One's going to give us a chunk of HP, and the other's going to begin HP regeneration, which I really like for survivability in higher end content. Now, the gloves is where I'm a little skeptical on, and where I might make some tweaks down the line. They're setting us up with melee kickstart, where, of course, anytime we use our melee ability, our knife trick, we consume all of our armor charge stacks and we get a chunk of melee energy back. My concern here is with the synergies of Knife Trick and Knock 'em Down, we're getting our melee back in full anyway. So I'm feeling like I would rather go into more orb generation here and run something like a Firepower, where my grenade final blows create orbs of power, so that my trip mines, when I use them on trash mob targets, are creating orbs of power for me. But as we said, we're going to use what they recommended. We're also going to Impact Induction, so causing damage with our powered melee attacks will reduce our grenade cooldown, and then Bolstering Detonation so that we get class ability energy when we cause damage with a grenade. This one I absolutely love. Makes perfect sense to me. As far as stats go, we're going with tier 10 resilience, and then we're going to want to go as high mobility as possible. I don't think high discipline is going to be necessary here in any capacity, because all of the grenade energy we're going to be getting are going to be from mods in our Young Ahamkara's Spine. So I think it'd actually be better to invest a little bit more in something like intellect instead. So we're probably going to want to go resilience, mobility, and intellect. And the reason I like drifting towards the intellect side of things, for the super, I actually really want to try out, they said it was dealer's choice, I want to try out Golden Gun Marksman. So this is the golden gun that you would typically run with Celestial Nighthawk. And the reason I really want to try this is because in Act 2, roaming supers and Golden Gun Marksman is included in this roaming super category, recently got a gigantic buff where Golden Gun gets increased super energy gains per damage event against PvE combatants by roughly 3x, which means we are getting triple the amount of super energy when we have Golden Gun as our super as we did previously. Golden Gun basically just got a gigantic buff in terms of availability and damage versus champions. So I've got Golden, long-term friend of the stream, twitch.tv/Mactics, where we record all these live, and Gorgonzola, submitter of the build, actually. They're the one who went ahead and submitted this bad boy. We're actually going to try this out in the brand new activity, Contest of Elders, which is the Revenant variant of the Coil activity that we had back in Season of the Wish, which we loved doing Willa builds in. So I'm really, really happy to see a Coil-esque activity be brought into Destiny. Hopefully this one is really conducive to interesting Willa build episodes. Only one way to find out. Let's hop right in and answer that question. Will it build? Okay, let's take our first spin. I do want to note two things. One, this is my very, very first run of Contest of Elders, so just as much as we're kind of rediscovering and re-exploring Young Ahamkara Spine, we are also experiencing and discovering Contest of Elders for the very first time. And number two is, yes, I did shave my mustache. It's not gone permanently or anything, by the way. It'll probably regrow in like a couple, need to change pace. You know, I don't know. Let's get into it. Trip mine grenade, boom, 33% of our grenade back. And then the idea is that we can like run up to enemies like these, throw our throwing knives at them, fully get our throwing knives back. Okay, so interesting. Something that was really neat about Young Ahamkara's Spine previously that seems to still work. For whatever reason, if you throw your trip mine grenade at an enemy and it blows up on that enemy, but the explosion of the trip mine grenade doesn't kill the enemy, so you do it on a tanky enemy, such as this fella over here, it'll give you 2 instances of the 33% grenade refund. So if I throw it on that guy right there, that actually gave me 3 instances for some reason. So as you can see right there, 2 instances of refund, and then the target ignited, which gave me my third 33% instance. So we do confirm right there that ignitions do indeed still count. Young Ahamkara Spine was always a build that I loved very, very much because there were a lot of intricacies with the Young Ahamkara Spine build that were not immediately obvious and not represented in the text of the exotic armor piece itself. It was so much more powerful than it seemed on paper because there were so many cool things that you could learn about it. Okay, so yeah, the Gunpowder Gamble is definitely giving us ability energy back, which is really, really awesome. Okay, throw the grenade there, smoke those guys, and even in a situation where we're low on grenade energy, throw our throwing knives at enemies. Get it right back. Chuck this Gunpowder Gamble in the air. Yep, Gunpowder Gamble's definitely giving us ability energy back towards, it's definitely counting. All right, we're gonna go crazy on this boss right here. So we're gonna hit the dodge, give us our melee back so we can throw the melee, throw another grenade. That's gonna give an ignition. That's gonna give a Gunpowder Gamble. That's gonna give another one. We can dodge again, throw our melee, throw another trip mine. He's dead. Bye. Oh, I feel like for whatever reason, I don't believe it used to work this way, but it feels like if I hit all 3 of my throwing knives on the same target, it's giving me 3 instances of ability regeneration. For Young Ahamkara's Spine. I think it is. Wait a minute, that's crazy if that's the case. Hold on a second. I'm gonna throw that there. I need to find like a tanky target to hit. Does it count if I hit immunes? So, back before, when you use the triple throwing knife, it would refund you 33%, like I said at the beginning of the video, per individual target that you hit. So like if all 3 of the throwing knives hit the same target, it would only count as 1 instance of ability damage and therefore only give you 33%. So if you wanted to take advantage of the triple throwing knife to give you multiple instances of ability refund and 1 ability activation, you had to hit multiple different targets. So like you literally had to like fan them out and hit multiple targets with the knife. But now it's just based on hits. It doesn't care if it's the same enemy or multiple different enemies, which makes this thing insane for bursting tanky targets like bosses because it means you get a full grenade back just with 1 melee throw. even if the grenade's at 0%. Let me try this out one more time, just to be sure. So I have 0% on my grenade. Hit him with all 3 knives. Now my grenade's 100% completely back. That's new and very strong. I love it. So I hit a dodge, melees, gives me my grenade back, throw the grenade, gives me a gunpowder gamble, throw the gunpowder gamble, mess up the throw on the gunpowder gamble, bait the enemy into the gunpowder gamble, get the energy back from the gunpowder gamble, get a new gunpowder gamble. Young Ahamkara's spine is so back, and I'm so happy. I do, before we continue, want to try this out, ditching melee kickstart and going with firepower for orbit power generation on grenade final blows. And if we're going firepower, then we don't really need our armor charge mods anymore, so we can ditch stacks on stacks and charged up. So I kind of want to lose stacks on stacks for something like a harmonic scavenger, so we can get significantly more solar ammo whenever we pick up a solar brick. That's going to be nice for Ariana's vow. We can also synergize with a solar heavy if we're going to do that. Right now, we're just going to stay with this. We're not going to make any other changes. I know we were talking about some of the fragment selections earlier, but we're going to leave those as is for the moment. Lander throwing knives, that gives us trip mine. Lander trip mine, that gives us gunpowder gamble. Gunpowder gamble explosion, gets us close to another grenade. See, like in a situation like this, I would just really, really love to have Ember of Singeing, because I feel like it would have my class ability up 100% of the time. I do think that the Ember of Blistering, where we get a little bit of grenade energy back on ignition final blows, is giving us a little bit of grenade energy, but never enough to where it's like putting us in this weird in-between point where it's like we're a little more than 2/3 to our grenade, but we're not close enough to get it from like passive regeneration, and passive regeneration isn't going to be enough for us to get the rest of it. So it's kind of it kind of ends up being a little bit useless, because before we actually get our grenade back through passive regeneration, we have like our dodge back, which gives us our melee, which will give us the 33% that we would have needed anyway. So that's where I'm a little skeptical on blistering. I feel like benevolence is also, I'm not sure about benevolence. I kind of want to I want to switch benevolence to Singeing is what I really, really want to do. Because I feel like benevolence, 1, we only have 1 way to proc it, and 2, it requires us to be really close to enemies. And when I'm focused on my like combos and my rotations and stuff like that, I don't really want to be focused on trying to like stay close to my allies, if that makes sense. I just want to be focused on my rotations and slaying out enemies. So I do want to swap for benevolence and put on Singeing, and feel like if that feels, it's really a feeling thing at this point. I want to see if, while implementing the same playstyle that we've been implementing, if we feel like our abilities are up more frequently, specifically our dodge, which is going to in turn lead to more uptime on our melee, which in turn is going to lead to more uptime on our grenade. Get that grenade going. Gunpowder gamble. That gives us another grenade. Defeat the Lucent Hunter. Say less. Triple throwing knife. Thanks for the grenade. That's going to give me 2 instances of refund and cause an ignition, which will give me the 3rd instance of refund, and then I can hit my dodge. Oh, if I hit my throwing knives there, we would have been in such good shape. But I have my golden gun. Golden gun hits count as well for ability damage. And then we just completely fry. Okay, so now that we're in a new wing, I do want to try out an incandescent legendary weapon. So I'm gonna go with my explosive payload, Incandescent Zali's Bane. You of course can go literally anything with incandescent. But I think this is gonna feel really nice paired up with Ember of Singeing. It'll let us proc it a lot more frequently. I'm also wondering if we want to change up blistering. The one thing I'm noticing is our survivability feels a little rough, just a little bit. We could go resolve where solar grenade final blows cure us. Let's try that. Let's take that for a spin, see how it feels. I know this might seem a little overkill because we do already have firepower, so every grenade kill is already going to make an orb, and those orbs are going to heal us thanks to recuperation and better already. But I think this is going to supplement the healing a little bit and feel a little nicer. This is going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, by the way. Do ignitions caused by weapons count as ability hit based ignitions and grant trip mine grenade energy? So that'll be a good way to test that out as well. Okay, once this walker becomes damageable, we collect the final explosive and do the little transmat thing. I do want to see, we're gonna shoot a dragon's breath at the walker and see if it just, the ignitions from that fully load our trip mine grenade. We're gonna have the arming progress going. I feel like my dodge is up a lot more often, having switched to the Ember of Singeing. So already that feels like a win. over Benevolence, especially when we have an incandescent weapon. So we're at 0% Trip Mine Grenade energy, so we're just gonna like chuck it up at the ceiling. Dragon's Breath, do the ignitions on that, give us Trip Mine Grenade energy. It doesn't seem like it. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that Dragon's Breath is not necessarily good with this build, just because the ignitions from Dragon's Breath aren't counting towards Young Ahamkara's Spine specifically, and aren't giving us Trip Mine Grenade energy, because the damage of Dragon's Breath is still going to be really, really nice anytime you're running a build with Ember of Ashes, because the Ember of Ashes increase to Scorch stacks apply both to abilities, and they apply to all Scorch stacks. That would include the Scorch from Dragon's Breath, which means when you're running Dragon's Breath with a solar-specific build, you're allowed to put Ember of Ashes. You get much more Scorch stacking on Dragon's Breath, which means it does a lot more ignitions, and it means it auto-loads a lot more quickly. It's crazy to say, but I unironically think that the Young Ahamkara's Spine today is the best version of Young Ahamkara's Spine that we have ever had in the history of Destiny. Okay, we gotta do the mines again. Okay, you guys told me that if the mines are like glowing a static blue, it means they're fake mines. So is this a fake mine? Because it's like... I kind of love that. Subscribe if you didn't know that before watching this video. Oh, it was not a trap. Wait, is the loot actually going to be good though? What does this one give me? What's the big one? Whoa. Okay, I don't really know what all I got. And then, oh, have I not? Oh, I actually have to like hold the button on claim loot. It's, if my teammate opens it, it doesn't open it for everyone. Okay, sweet. So, very first Contest of Elders completed. I gotta say, I really like that as our new testing ground for Will It Build. My goal is to have a ridiculous amount of Will It Builds going for the month of November and December. Like, I'm legitimately gonna be shooting for like a Will It Build every single day, or at the least every single 2 days. So make sure you join my Discord server, linked in the description below, so you can submit your build so we can test it out and make a video about it. Did this one build? Absolutely. Like, honestly, I didn't think that Young Ahamkara's Spine... One, I never thought I would see this build come back. I thought once Bungie nerfed it, it was gone. And so to see them not only unnerf it, but to see it literally better than it was before, brings joy to my heart. So the final setup we ended up with is, here's the subclass. You can take a look. Loved how the golden gun felt with the increased super regeneration changes, and I would love to try this in a Grandmaster as well. We're not quite done yet though, because I do want to test two things super quickly, specifically with Gunpowder Gamble. I want to see if it procs firepower, and I want to see if it procs the Ember of Resolve. So I do want to go test that real quick, so we're not quite done yet. So, boom. Yep, gave us Cure and created an orb. Definitely procs firepower, which means we can assume it also procs Ashes to Assets, which is great. Going to give us more golden guns, and procs Ember of Resolve. So this is what I like for the final Fragment setup. Really, really felt nice, even in those higher levels of Contest of Elders. This is what we ended up with for the mod setup. I think you can change this harmonic reserves to whatever you want. I don't think it was super necessary, and you can make the scavenger whatever you want to align with whatever heavy weapon you're using. I don't think you need any specific weapons with this, although an incandescent weapon does feel really, really nice going with Ember of Singeing. Really, really like the Firepower edition. Felt fantastic in my opinion. Orb Generation feels nice with this bad boy. And yeah, weapon-wise, you can really use whatever you want. I do recommend Incandescent, but I mean, that's about it. So, will it build? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, yes. In fact, I love so much that not only is it as good as pre-nerf Young Ahamkara's Spine, something that I'd never thought I would get to experience again or play with again. Not only is it as good as that, but it's actually better. This is the best version of the Young Ahamkara's Spine exotic armor piece that we have ever had in the history of Destiny, which I absolutely love. If you want your build to be featured in one of these Will It Build videos, we're going to be trying to do Will It Build videos once per day, all throughout the remainder of the year, at the minimum once every 2 days. I'm going to do my best. I'll try my hardest. If you want your build featured in one of these videos, please be sure to submit it in the Will It Build Discord channel in our Discord server, linked in the description below. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you can catch the next episode of Will It Build. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.